Hey folks, so as most of you are aware, in the wake of the Uvalde shooting and others, the Biden administration has been uh, producing and introducing a enormous amount of gun control legislation to try to restrict your Second Amendment rights, to try to restrict your ability to exercise those rights. Um, and essentially, what they're doing is or at least it seems like that they're taking every type of gun control legislation possible, throwing it at the wall to try to see what can stick, what will pass. Most of the stuff that they're proposing is probably going to die in the Senate. It's not going to pass. There were two things, though, that were most likely going to pass, though. One is the red flag laws. There was a red flag bill that would federalize the red flags across the nation because they had managed to obtain enough support from Republicans to have the votes to draw up the wording, the framework and everything, and possibly have that pass, get the Republican support needed to pass that. The other legislation would be the 1,000% tax that I talked about in one of my previous videos. If they manage to wrap that in a financial legislation package, they could push that through without a single Republican vote. Now that will probably go through if they manage to do that. It's highly likely that they will. But they've got to draw up the specific legislation, and they've got to include it with a bunch of other stuff to try to pass that. So we have a little bit of time, not much, but we have a little bit of time because it's going to take a little time for them to do that. But the red flag laws were set to go to vote, and for a while it was looking like that would pass because, as I said, they appeared to have enough Republican support to get the votes that they needed. However, Biden has just come out with this new attempt at restricting the Second Amendment that may backfire on him. For all intents and purposes, he may have shot himself in the foot. This may completely blow any chance he had of the red flag legislation passing, because there's a possibility that this new attempt is going to anger enough Republicans that he's going to lose any support he had for the red flag laws. Now, what's going on? Well, there's a place called the Lake City Ammunition Plant that is owned by the United States government. That plant manufactures all the ammunition for the military, the United States military. However, it's run under contract by private ammunition manufacturers, Winchester being one that I know of. But specifically, Winchester was mentioned in the article that I'm talking about. And again, as always, the link to this article will be in the description. But the contract essentially states, I haven't read the contract, but from what information I've gathered about it, the contract states that the federal government owns the manufacturing facility, but it's run by Winchester, possibly others. I'm not real clear on that. And as I understand it, the contract that the United States government has with Winchester, the reason they managed to get Winchester to agree to run this plant for the government was that any ammunition they made in excess of what the military needed, they could sell on the open market to civilians. So just say the U.S. military needed 50 million rounds of ammunition, just to give you an example, and they made 100 million rounds of ammunition. Well, Winchester had the right to take that extra 50 million over production and sell it to civilians on the open market. In an attempt to restrict your rights in a roundabout way, Biden is altering that contract, basically saying that Winchester has basically been instructed to no longer be allowed to sell that excess production to civilians. So what Biden is saying, I'm sorry, I know I'm a little bit scattered right now. It's been a long day, I'm tired. But what Biden has basically done is he's gone to Winchester and said, look, you can no longer sell this ammunition to the civilians. You can only make what the U.S. military needs. So that's in breach of the contract. What do they make? Well, a lot of what they make there, and what was specifically mentioned by the order issued by Biden, was the M855 and the SS-109 ammunition. For those that don't know, that's what's commonly referred to as green tip light armor piercing rounds. It's called green tip light armor piercing because essentially most ammo is a piece of lead encased in copper. But the 223 and the 5.56 that Biden specifically ordered not to be sold to civilians was the green tip. Now what that is it has the lead core, but it has a tiny little steel tip on the end of it, and that entire thing is then encased in copper, and it has a little green tip painted on it. The tip of it's painted green so that you can identify it. It's not really armor piercing. If you hit armor in the same spot enough times, depending on the type of armor you're using, it can penetrate. But so can any other 223 or 5.56 if you hit the same spot enough times. The only thing that the steel tip in the core does is give it a little bit better penetration and harder surfaces. Now, again, it's not technically an armor piercing round, because that would imply every single round could penetrate armor, and that's not what this does. It just has slightly better penetration performance than the standard 223 or 5.56. But because it's marketed as a light armor piercing round, they've tried many times before to ban the sale of this to civilians, and there was enough uproar about it that they backed off. Well, it looks this is another way of them trying to do it again. Now, here's the problem with that. That the green tip is not the only thing that they produce there, but it's one of the things that was specifically mentioned in the order from Biden. But the issue comes in that this plant produces, from what I understand, somewhere between 20 and 30%, probably more like 30% of the civilian ammo market for the AR-15. In their desire to eliminate your ability to have, own, and be able to use an AR-15 to defend yourself, they're trying to restrict the ammo now. Something they've talked about before, but they've never actually made any headway on. This is actually going to take effect, because this is an order that Biden can issue without having to take it before the House or the Senate. Again, the thing is, this plant is the source of about 30% of all AR-15 ammo for the United States. So while restricting Winchester from selling any of the overproduction, he's reducing the ammo supply by about 30%. Okay, what's that going to do? That, of course, that's going to create shortages, or at least it's going to create more limited supplies, which is going to drive up prices. I'm curious to see, though, by Biden telling Winchester they can no longer sell the overproduction, which is the one benefit to Winchester for operating the plant for the U.S. military. Well, now they don't have that incentive. They no longer have that incentive to run the plant so that they can sell the overproduction. So I'm curious to see what their response to this is going to be, whether they continue to run the plant. Obviously, other manufacturers are hopefully going to try to fill in the gap, because that's going to leave 30% of the market open to anybody that can provide the supply. So that's money sitting on the table for all these other private companies that manufacture ammo. But I'm curious to see if Winchester continues to operate this plant now that they can't sell any overproduction. Because again, that was the one incentive they had from the United States government for running it for the government. So we'll see how that plays out. But what this is going to do, and I told you there's going to be a run on guns, there's going to be a run on ammo, and this is going to create another run on ammo, because a lot of people are going to be going out now and buying this green tip ammo, the M855 and the SS109. They're going to be going out and buying this thinking that they're not going to be able to get it anymore. So this will reduce the available supply. It will probably create shortages or areas where it's not available. It's definitely going to drive up the price. But again, this just goes to show that Biden and his administration are hell-bent on doing anything they can to restrict your Second Amendment rights, or your right to, or your ability. It's been a long day, I'm sorry folks. Your ability to exercise that right, even to the extent of target shooting or training. Because if you can't get the ammo, and again, the green tip ammo is not the only ammo produced at this plant. But it is going to be one of the ones that's most likely going to be impacted first. But this is going to impact the availability and price of all 223 and 556 ammo. Because if you can't get the ammo, or the ammo is too expensive, you can't operate the gun. And it makes it less viable, less practical to own a gun that you can't get ammo for. So this is just another backdoor gun control attempt by a administration that apparently hates the United States, hates the Constitution, hates your Bill of Rights, doesn't think you have any rights, because Biden has said so on numerous occasions. You have no rights, you have privileges, because if the government can take them away, they weren't rights to begin with. Your rights are God-given, not government-given. And if a government can take them away, they're not rights, they're privileges. So this is going to be one more pressure point exerted on the ammo supply. So as with all this other legislation, and it seems to happen before every election, they start doing things that they know are going to try to restrict the Second Amendment, gun purchases, gun ownership, ammo, and things like that. And I don't understand if it's being done intentionally, or if they just don't understand the repetitive consequences of their legislation, because they should know by now, every time they come out with these kind of orders, these kind of laws and legislation, that anytime they come out with this stuff before an election, it creates a panic, and people go and buy up all the guns and ammo that they can get. So it actually has the reverse effect of what they want. They're trying to restrict gun ownership and gun sales, but by trying to pass these laws and these insane orders, they're actually having the reverse effect. They're creating more gun ownership. People are buying more guns, more ammo. It's insane that they keep doing the same thing, not realizing the effect it has. In the meantime, people like you and I, who try to prepare, who try to obey the laws, we're going to find ourselves in a bind because people are going to be panicking and buying up all the guns and ammo. So now we got to contend with short supply and excessive prices on top of the already existing inflation. Anyway, I just wanted to bring this to your attention, folks. It's been a long day. I didn't really have time to talk about the subject that I originally planned on. I'm going to try to work on that over the next couple of days. I've got a lot of research to do about that one, though, and I'm finding it difficult to find the time to do the research that I need to, but I don't want to come to you not fully armed with information. But anyway, so this is just a video I could do really quickly to get something out to you folks. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Keep prepping, folks. I hope you've got your guns. I hope you've got your ammo. Food is important. You can't live without food, and if you don't have food, they can use food to control you. But at the same time, if you don't have your guns and ammo, all the food in the world's not going to do you a bit of good because somebody can come along and take it from you. So keep prepping. Get everything you need. Do what you got to do. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Get ready, folks. With that, that's all I've got. I'll get some more videos out soon. Until next time, folks, take care.